The exercise intensity to recovery ratio. What is it and how do you use it to maximize your gains? Well, simple concept. The more intense your workout is, the more systemic nervous system load that you put on your body, whether that's through volume or through just the intensity of the exercise itself, the amount of load that you can handle on your nervous system, and we're going to talk about what that means, requires more recovery. Simple as that. If you don't give your body enough time to recover, muscularly, again, systemically, nervous system, the specific target muscles, then you're not going to maximize your recovery. So what does intensity mean when I talk about the intensity of the exercise? Well, a lot of people are going to talk about intensity with speed. Remember in past videos, I've talked about you want to minimize speed. The last video I think I put up there was strength training should never endanger your health. If you go fast, you're going to endanger your health. Now, if you're working on a specific skill like a snatch or a clean or a bench press, and you're going for maximum poundage, you're going to have to work with speeds. You're going to have to work with technique and stuff. That's a completely different conversation. What we're talking about is building muscle, building strength safely and effectively. So if you're working intensely, what I mean by that is your level of perceived exertion. How much effort are you putting out? It's called high intensity exercise because it's HIIT, right? People talk about high intensity interval exercise or high intensity interval training, HIIT. That's different. That a lot of times is used with speed. That's used on things like air bikes or treadmills or bikes or rowers and things like that. That's not what we're talking about. That can be included in things, but I want to talk about lifting weights for gaining muscle, gaining strength. In the weight room, for the most part, in the weight room, you can use body weight as well. But what we're talking about here is it should be almost called high effort training versus high intensity, because a lot of times people conflate intensity with speed. We're talking about high effort. So how much effort are you putting out into the workout? If you're not putting out enough effort, you're not going to be able to get any results. We've talked about Henneman's principle of size. What does that mean? Muscle recruitment is based upon need, not speed. So if I need more muscle fibers because the intensity of an exercise goes up, my body will recruit more fibers. And it doesn't care if I do that fast or slow. It will recruit more muscle fibers if I do something fast because of the effort involved. It's a lot harder. The effort is a lot more when you sprint than when you walk. So you're going to recruit more muscle fibers when you do that. But again, we're talking about risk of injury. So if you don't have the mechanics, if you don't have the skill to go along with that sprinting, then why do it? Okay? So talking about that stuff later, let's focus in on the intensity of things and how we can maximize our intensity in the exercise, and then how we can maximize our recovery to get this ratio of intensity to recovery down right. So again, if I can push myself really, really hard because I'm able to handle that muscular discomfort in the actual repetition and set itself, then I'm going to be able to take myself to a deeper level of effort, a deeper level of fatigue in that muscle, which is then going to require more recovery for that muscle group, for that area. So again, if I go to the gym and I just play patty cake, all right, I barely get to any sort of level of fatigue. I don't do a lot of volume as well. So let's just say I go in there and I do one set of an exercise for 10 repetitions, but I could have done 20. I didn't reach any sort of real fatigue. I didn't recruit a lot of muscle fibers. My body's going to be able to recover very fast from that. So low effort, all right, low recovery. I don't need a lot of time in recovery, so less time to recover because of low effort. It's a direct relationship. The more I get intense, the more recovery I need. And a lot of times we have this idea that no pain, no gain. We should put out more effort and we should train more often. No brain, no gain. Think about what your goal is. If I fatigue and I get to a high level of stimulus in the exercise, and a lot of people do that through lots of volume, I think it's just a waste of time. You can get there too, but again, it's a waste of, use more time in the actual session itself, and you increase chance of injury only because you're moving that joint through the range of motion more times. Simple as that. Anytime I open and close a joint, as I flex my finger and extend my finger, I'm creating wear and tear on those joints. Now I'm also using that joint, and it's allowing synovial fluid to go in, so it's actually helping the joint. But again, under load, when you're using these heavy weights and things like that, I use heavy as I can control for a good amount of repetitions, usually 8 to 12 repetitions on upper body, sometimes lower, and then maybe more repetitions on some lower body stuff, 12 to 20, something like that. But I'm going to failure on all these exercises. When you have that much load, when I use those heavy weights, it's going to put more pressure on the joints, and it's going to be, again, more wear and tear. It's just simple how things work in your body. So with that being said, you can do that through lots of volume. You can get that intensity up through lots of volume. You can do, 10 sets of 10, right? And just completely exhaust the muscle, but why not do that in a more efficient way? So that's why I do 1 to 2 sets of getting, taking that muscle to failure. If I feel like I need to get more, all right, I'll do another set. But for the most part, it's 1 to 2 sets. And I'm going all out, and I'm really getting to that point of where I cannot do a repetition with good technique. And sometimes I even go beyond that. Sometimes I do the repetition and I do a drop set where I'll take weight off and then I'll do more repetitions. So in one set, I don't count that as 2 sets. That one set will be multiple weights. It'll be dropped in weight to perform the drop set, but I'm fatiguing all of those muscle fibers. So again, that intensity is super high. My effort is really high. And because also I do, and my exercise is, I don't rest. So I go from one exercise to the next. I go push and pull and push and pull, and then I do some legs. I don't rest in between, so it condenses the workout, and the nervous system load is high. I want to create a fight to the death. Intensity is going to mimic reality because your body only cares about survival. It's trying to protect you against threats. And when you make the threat really high, that's when there's more of this overall load on the body. And again, like we're talking about, if you have a higher stimulus, you're going to need more recovery. So if you can't get the intensity high for whatever reason, you have an injury, right? You have some sort of other disorder that's going on in your body, or you're just not able to handle that muscular fatigue, that discomfort that you feel, then maybe you're going to need to lower the intensity and do things more frequently. Again, if that intensity, if you, for whatever reason, maybe it's a mental block, maybe it's a physical block, or whatever the reason, let's accept the reason, and you can't get the intensity super high, then you're not going to need as much recovery, because if the intensity is only here, okay, then the recovery has to match that. If your intensity is super high, you're able to push, and you are like, I am exhausted when I'm done with my workout. I have to take 5 minutes to sit on the floor and breathe and to gather myself. Usually because I finish with legs, I can't even stand up. So I literally need to rest in that acute phase, that short term, to get myself off of the floor. What that then says is because I can drive that intensity high, because I've done that, I have a lot of experience and I've trained like this for a while, I know what it takes, and I know where my limits are, and I know, okay, just keep going. It's just muscular pain. It's not going to kill you. It just hurts. I can handle that mentally. I can handle that physically. I can drive the intensity. I have to take more time off. Now, I've talked about recovery before in a couple of videos past, and for me, I need more recovery than most people as it is. So for me, when I take into consideration my training program, if I have this high intensity exercise and I have this load on the body, I have to rest and I have to match that, again, the level of intensity with my recovery. And I also have to take into consideration the other intense or other loaded intensity or not loaded, not exercise intensity in my life. So if I'm going through more stress, if I'm not as on point with my sleep, if I'm adding these other intense mental events, that's going to get in the way of my recovery, and I'm going to have to extend that recovery. So if you go out late, right? If you're not getting enough protein, if you're not, drinking enough water, if you're not doing some other modalities of relaxation, you're probably going to need more recovery from that bout of exercise if it was really, really intense. Again, if it wasn't as intense, maybe you don't need as much, but you have to find that balance. And some people, it's 5 days off in between sessions. Some people, it's a week. Some people, it's 9 days. Again, maybe it's I have to get to the gym 3 times a week or 4 times a week because I can't drive that intensity. But as you're able to drive that intensity higher, you're gonna need to take more time off and recover. And I would say that that should be the goal of your exercise because, again, if you get back to the survival thing, I think it's so important. Your body doesn't care about building biceps for the beach or building chest or building abs, or it doesn't care about that. The only reason why it builds those things is because you threatened its existence. You threatened your own survival. And when that happens, when you get the threat high enough, that's when the body responds. So if principle of overload the tissue to where it then says, hey, what the heck did you just do to me? It has to respond and it has to grow in response to that stimulus. It is thinking that this is going to be a survival mechanism for life. It doesn't know that you're fighting against a barbell in a safe environment like the gym. It thinks when you take it to that level of intensity, it thinks that you're fighting to the death. And that's what I try to create in every one of my workouts. I fight those weights like they are trying to kill me. And I am trying to survive against them. And if you can get yourself to that level of intensity, like I said, you're going to need a lot of recovery in between. So what I see from many people, and I saw this for myself, this is why I can speak with this I don't need to write anything down. I can just talk about this stuff because I believe it 100% because I've lived it. I used to work out 6-7 days a week and I would work out and I thought I was working out hard. You saw me in the gym. Hey, that guy works out hard. I wasn't operating on the level of intensity that you need if you want to maximize your results as well. To maximize gains, you're going to have to maximize this intensity recovery ratio. You can maximize it by not going intense and not getting that level up. You can do those things, but in the acute phase, in that actual one moment, that one bout of exercise, you're not maximizing because again, your body needs that high level of threat for it to give you the maximum response. The maximum response is going to require maximum recovery. And again, that recovery for some people might be 3 days, even after a really stimulating workout, super high intensity. Some people it's 5 days, some people it's 7 days, some people it's 8, 9, 10. It can be a wide variety in between with the same level of perceived exertion, same level of threat. Again, this is why you have steroids. Steroids shorten that window of recovery. So you then don't have to take as much time in between bouts of exercise. You can do 2-a-days. You can do all these different things because your body's recovering. Anabolic steroids. What does the word anabolic mean? Anabolic is the growth stage, is the recovery stage, is when everything is building up. Anabolic steroids and catabolic steroids. You've probably been on steroids before in your life, but they were catabolic, meaning they were trying to decrease inflammation. They were trying to decrease things. They were trying to shrink things, lower the response, calm things down, okay, versus build, okay? So with the recovery, the anabolic side, if you're getting enough sleep, if your body genetically has more, hormones in your body to be able to balance out from this exercise stimulus, then you're going to get more results quicker. And that's where we see a lot of these bodybuilders. They're genetically gifted in that their body can recover from exercise, all right? Their body, grabs these muscle fibers when they're doing the exercise. The body recovers faster and they can just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Where someone like myself, I'm much more nervous system, okay, which creates, I'm very, I have good reactions, I have good coordination, okay, but my body muscle-wise, it doesn't want to grow, okay? I want to be efficient. I'm built more for like running and athletic movements than I am for weight room and bodybuilding. So if I want to maximize, again, the gains of muscle and strength, I have to get super intense, but I also have to get super recovered. And that is the intensity recovery ratio. And if you can maximize that for yourself, again, by learning how to train safely at super high levels of intensities, we talked about this in another video with Mark Hasanovich, talking about, lower speeds, okay, making sure that you use, proper equipment. Whether or if you don't have proper equipment, you're using a spotter, right? If you don't have the ability to use things like catches and pins and stuff like that, you're using a spotter, you're using other people. And if you don't have that, you're using machines. And if you don't have that, you're getting creative and finding ways that you can increase the level of intensity safely, going slow. If you can do that, again, you're going to then need more recovery, and some people's recovery is going to be different than others. So find out what your exercise intensity ratio is. If you can drive that intensity up, you're probably going to need to recover a little bit more. And I would challenge you to try to recover a little bit more. Take a little bit more time off in between your exercise bouts, your sessions, and see what happens. If you're getting the proper nutrition, if you're getting the proper rest in regard to sleep, you're probably going to have more gains in that time. It doesn't mean take 2 weeks off. Again, for me, I train twice a week right now. I was training once a week. Actually, I just took my second session off. I was training Thursdays and Sundays. I just took the Sunday off because I didn't get that much sleep over the weekend. I had a lot of different things going on. So for me, I started feeling like, hey, I'm flat. I'm not ready for this exercise session. So I took it off. Come back on Thursday, and then we'll see how I feel the next. So maybe I take a couple weeks off of two days a week. Maybe 2 days a week is too much for me. But on this week, I had the humility to be able to say, hey, it's not more is better. It's what level of intensity I knew that if I did that workout, I wasn't going to be able to put out the level of intensity that I wanted. So I wasn't going to get the maximum stimulus. So for me, I'm going to then focus on my recovery so that I can be ready to put out that intensity. Again, intensity, recovery, ratio, find it out for you. See how it maximizes your gains. Let me know how it does go, all right? Come back to this channel in a couple months. If you started to experiment with this yourself and you're starting to see gains, let me know how it went. And love all your feedback. So thank you so much.